All right. So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out and for joining us online to learn about QuickBooks and bookkeeping. I'm 𝗗𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗡, the president and CEO of the Lebanon Valley Chamber of Commerce, where you are. It's nice to see some familiar faces and hearing some new faces. And I'm glad that all of you can join us online as well. It looks like we have a nice crowd there. I don't want to take up a lot of your time because I'm going to turn it over to John, who is the expert in this. And but I will let you know that every month we do have a program for small businesses. We have them coming up on organizational effectiveness. And I don't remember the next one.
Intro to government contracts.
Thank you.
Business, enterprise, and women-owned small business certification.
Thank you, Kim. Yes. Which reminds me to introduce our partners in this series. These are free programs provided to anybody in our community because we have great partnerships and relationships with amazing agencies. Kim is with the Small Business Administration, and they help us put these on as well. John is with the Small Business Development Center at 𝗘𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗡, and we also partner with SCORE. And SCORE, does anybody know what they are? Okay, some of you do. SCORE is a nonprofit agency that provides free business mentoring. They are retired or semi-retired executives, and they are there to help anybody who needs that assistance. They'll meet with you once a month or whatever frequency you need, not every day, but they'll meet with you and talk through what your goals are and come up with a plan of action, and we'll give you executable things that you need to work on until you meet again. So free business mentoring from SCORE, Small Business Administration, and the Small Business Development Center, phenomenal partners for us to work with. Their websites, every one of their websites has an amazing selection of tools to help a small business fill in the gaps of knowledge that they may not have. So feel free to take a look at those sites, and if you want links to them, let me know. We are recording today. I will send out a link to everybody who is registered on that, but John is not showing slides per se, so it's not going to be something that we can share slides, but you will see that all of this in the recording. And if you have questions, do you want them to kind of interrupt in the middle or wait until the end?
You can interrupt.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot that pop up. With this kind of presentation, there's usually a lot of individualized type of questions, so we can just take them as you have them.
Excellent. And if you are online and you have a question, I will be monitoring the chat as well as John. So feel free to pop them in the window there. So without any further ado, I am going to turn it over to John and enjoy.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. So as Karen said, my name is John 𝗧𝗢𝗧𝗣𝗧𝗧. I'm the executive director of 𝗘𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗡 University Small Business Development Center. So we help individuals start or grow their business. I handle a 5-county area. We do trainings all over, all the time in all the counties in different aspects. This is one of them, QuickBooks Finance. There is a program coming out through the SBDCs for help with individuals that need help with taxes, accounting, legal services, which is typically things we don't handle. But that program's coming out hopefully in the next month or so for someone to go into your books and help you reconfigure your finances, your books, your QuickBooks, your accounting, bookkeeping, things like that. So just keep that in mind. Just like to mention that. I don't have slides for this because I find this to be very difficult to do in a presentation style when you just have slides and you're just looking at slides, which is why I have this loaded up here. This is actual QuickBooks. It's just a demo, a sample company. I find this much easier because you're looking at something in real time. You can see the fields and the options and the different things, and then that'll generate some questions as we kind of move through this. Over the next hour, I'll try to leave a lot of time at the end for questions as well, just because I'm sure you'll have some, so feel free to fire them away. Again, thank you to 𝗘𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗡𝗡 back there from the SBA for joining this and other sessions we've done and partnered with. They're great partners of ours, so we appreciate that. So without further ado, this is QuickBooks. I hope everybody here can see my screen. Hopefully everybody virtually can see the screen as well. This is standard QuickBooks. There's two different kinds. There's online QuickBooks and there's a desktop version. I worked on a desktop version from 2012 up until like 2 years ago. Because I didn't need the constant updates. I didn't need the constant. So when you do this online, it's always the newest, the greatest, all the bells and whistles and tools and everything. If you don't need that, just go with the desktop version. If you don't need the online support and all the latest and greatest, if you just wanted to manage your books and be able to reconcile, great. Now the one thing with the online is you can connect it to your bank, which makes it a lot easier to reconcile transactions. So it just automatically sort of does it for you, which is a nice feature. But in order to save time, just because we're limited on time, I'm not going to go through setting up an actual company from scratch, because that in and of itself will take an hour just to do that. So I feel like it'd be more beneficial for you all to kind of see the dashboards and different functions and different things you can do in here. Sound good? Cool. Okay. And I will try to watch the chat. If anybody has questions, I will try to get on those as they pop in. So this is the main sort of dashboard of QuickBooks. As you can see, this company is Craig's Design and Landscape Services. It's just what the demo calls it. You can add a logo, your own company logo, your own personal logo. If you're doing the books for a company, you can put their logo in here. I used to have my prior employer, I had that logo in here. I had a invoice template set up with the company name and everything on there, the terms, everything on there that was standard. That way I didn't have to always type it over and over and over and over again. So if you type your company info in when you initially set your company up, it'll prompt you to do all those things. It's like a little wizard. It walks you through step by step how to set up the company. The two most important things, if you're going to use QuickBooks or any kind of financial management system, setting up a GL. So does everybody know what that means?
No.
General ledger chart of accounts. So by that, I mean categorizing things that you're going to put into QuickBooks. Oh, I just bought some pens at Staples, right? I want to record that in here. Well, a GL chart of accounts, say you assign supplies to account number 6100, or you just call it supplies. That's where you would put the pens. It just categorizes it. So at the end of the year, end of the month, end of the quarter, whatever it is, you can go, how much did we spend on pens? You can go right to that line. Spend $500 a year on pens. Okay, do we really need to do that? It just helps you make decisions. It helps you categorize. Or how much did we spend on paper towels? Or how much are we spending on coffee? Setting up a GL, general ledger chart of accounts, will help you categorize those things and keep track of it. So you know, so you can make decisions. Sorry, I hit over a cold, so I apologize. Second most important thing, reconciling. Does everybody know what I mean when I say reconcile? You have to balance what you put into QuickBooks with your bank account, or this is meaningless. You have to balance it, because you could look at QuickBooks and go, I have $5,000. All right, fantastic. And your bank says you have $5. There's a disconnect somewhere. Either something wasn't recorded in QuickBooks or you didn't reconcile it, meaning, the check that I wrote for $100 to Joe Smith cleared my bank. I better make sure I check it off in QuickBooks to clear it out of that account. So then QuickBooks is saying it cleared, my bank's saying it cleared, everything's great. My beginning balance, plus or minus all the activity I did that month, should be my ending balance. That should match my bank account. That'll be my beginning balance in the next month, and you keep flowing like that. Always reconcile the prior month, because there's stuff for this month that hasn't happened yet. So you can't really reconcile it, right? Make sense? Cool.
Mhm.
We'll kind of go through all that as well. I just kind of want to explain, to me, those are the two most important things, setting up a GL. And it doesn't have to be crazy. Don't go crazy. I've worked at places and seen places that have 1,000-line general ledger. Literally 1,000 lines. That is crazy. That's a lot. You don't need that. Don't overcomplicate. Have 2 or 3 lines for revenue or income, and have maybe 6 to 10 lines for expenses. That's all you need. Supplies, marketing, wages, compensation, things like that, and then a revenue line, income, revenue, whatever you want to call it. So simplify, then you won't go crazy trying to figure out, did I put this account in the right bucket? Make sure you do put whatever you're recording in the right spot. That can mess you up as well, but QuickBooks is pretty intuitive. It'll tell you when things are wrong. It'll kind of give you little error messages and then different kinds of things like that. So right here on your main dashboard, you can see, obviously my company name, getting things done. This is sort of like tasks. What has to be done? What didn't I do yet? Things like that. Oh, remind your customers about the 10 unpaid invoices. Okay, I need to do that. So I set up some invoices for my clients, and I have to send them out or receive the payment, or did I send them out, or did I receive the payment? Sort of jogging your memory, right? So here, if you click on, go to that field, okay, here's all the invoices that are QuickBooks is saying aren't balanced, so it doesn't make sense to QuickBooks. So okay, let me look into this a little bit. Okay, oh, you know what? 𝗧𝗢𝗣𝗜𝗖𝗍, I did receive payment. So I can click on that. And it'll take me to the invoice that I wrote up for them. Invoice 1012 on 9/11, $274. I'm saying they paid me. Amount to apply. Go. And this is blocking. Okay, and I'm gonna save it. Amount to apply, $274.50. Now it's asking me, I hit save and new. You can hit save and new or save and close, either or. So now, see how that went away? So that's no longer on my to-do list, because I just I said, yes, you know what? I did receive that payment, I forgot to mark it down. That happens. Try not to let that happen, but it does happen. That's where you can get messed up real quick. If you don't record a payment that you received, and you don't take the payment to the bank or take a picture of it on your phone, categorize it somehow, that's where you can start getting messed up, and it can snowball. 1 payment, then it's 2 payments, then it's 3 payments, then you're going, oh, I received the check 6 months ago and I never put it in there. What do I do? So back to the dashboard. I'm just kind of going over different fields to show you different options, different areas, and then we can have a back and forth dialogue questions. So now this is saying categorize 33 transactions. Okay. Well, apparently there's 33 transactions for this company that don't have a home yet. So let's take a look. Okay. So this is saying uncategorized income. Booked by Bessie. Apparently I got a check. And I want to add it. That's all you got to do. Again, income, add. You're recording the transactions. You can enter them, but that doesn't mean they went anywhere yet. Doesn't mean they went into an income field or an expense field or where you want it to go. They're just kind of sitting there on a ledger, on a sheet, on a schedule. So you want to place them. And if you click on each little field, you can dig deeper into the actual record, right? Account, uncategorizing. Well, you know, I don't want an uncategorized expense. I want to put it where it belongs. So just kind of go through, okay, rent or lease. That's where I'm going to put it. Now, if you click on that little billable, that's meaning you're charging the client back for something. You're charging the client for something. It's billable to them, not to you. So if I did this and I paid rent, but I'm billing it to a client, then you would check that field. Otherwise, leave it alone. If it's just a rent payment that you received in, say you're renting out space wherever your work is, and they paid you $200, okay? Recorded as rent, you move on. But if that rent is billable back to them or it's billable to somebody else, then you would click that because you're going to be billing them for it. You're not eating the cost. Does it make sense? That makes sense?
Pass-through reimbursement.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, I'm going to categorize it as a rent or lease instead of just uncategorized. Add it in there. It went away. I'm not going to go through every single one and do it because we'll be here for 4 hours, literally trying to like clean all this up. But I just kind of want to show you different fields. 1 second. Let's just see. See, we already have some questions here. So receipts. Let's see. The handiest tool in here is that little magnifying glass, right? This little, right up here. Oh, I'm sorry. Button's a little funky. Right up here, the little magnifying glass. If you're going, you know what? I'm not quite sure where I want to go. I know I want to do something, but I just don't know what. If you click that little magnifying glass and start typing in what you want to do, it'll take you right to it. Like, oh, chart of accounts. I don't even have to type the whole thing in. I just type chart O. Chart of accounts. Click on it, it'll take you right to it. So this is what I meant. We'll get into the questions in a minute, I apologize. This is what I meant by chart of accounts. See how all these different accounts are set up and there's dollar amounts on some of these. You have checking, they have some trucks, fixed assets, a truck, something they're using that was expensive, that's lasting more than a couple years, that they can depreciate. They can go, okay, you know, you ever hear the saying, as soon as you drive a car up the lot, it depreciates, right? Same thing with this, like you're recording depreciation every year. Whether it's, you know, I spent $20,000 on a truck, I'm depreciating $4,000 a year for the next 5 years. So every year you're taking $4,000 off the vehicle to depreciate it, which then credits some taxes. It's a lot of tax stuff. When you're owning your own business, you're writing off things to try to get $0 to pay tax on. That's just part of the write-up. So these are all registers. By register, that means it's just showing you a detailed listing of the checks you wrote out of that account or the activity. It's a accounting fancy way of saying a spreadsheet, a register, check register. You all familiar with that term, check register? Similar with receipts, right? Different ways to do it. You can upload it from your computer, Google Drive, forward it from an email, attach it to whatever record you're doing. I highly recommend, like, especially income or expense, if you have a receipt, attach it. Because if you're like me, you are not going to remember a month from now what that was. You're just not, especially if you're dealing with a lot of different things. If you have a grant coming in, you have some kind of revenue coming in and you have a contract, you have some kind of signed document, attach it to that payment. Attach it and put it in there and write a description. Oh, this was my community health and wellness grant for $50,000. Attach that to the check copy, put it in there. That way, when you send this to your accountant or you send this to whoever, somebody above you or the CEO or whoever, they can look at it and see that. Your accountant can see it. They're not going to email you back. Do you have the receipts for all these things? Nope, they're attached to the record. They're right there. They happen. It's just a good thing to to have and or do. And here's what I was saying with receipts and tagging. This is the individual expense record. And here's where you can manage tags. If you have fixed asset tags that you want to set up, you can set that up in here. And then assign a tag to it right here. Or I can go, okay, I want to put a receipt with this right down in here. Attachments. There's none existing, but if you had a copy of the receipt, say this was, again, I keep going back to Staples, but say I went to Staples and I bought $1,200 worth of stuff. And I have a receipt. Put the receipt into the record. Audit trail. The receipt total matches the expense total, matches all the detail breakdown that I, pens, a chair, paper, disinfectant, whatever it is. Does that make sense? Okay, let me get to some questions real quick here. Y'all don't mind. I just want to see if people are just talking or. You snap a receipt, how do you link that up with the bank register? When you connect with the bank, it's gonna grab all the detail for that record. I don't know 1,000% if it grabs a receipt or not. I know it will grab the transaction in the record if you have it connected to your bank, but I don't know about a receipt. So I'll have to look into that and get back to you on that specific.
John, may I ask a question about receipts?
Yeah.
When you snap a receipt, it goes obviously into the file here. And then when you're in this page, how do you grab that snapped receipt that you did on your iPhone or whatever and put it in the attachments?
So you would just, well, I recommend taking it. So say you took it on your phone, right? I would recommend emailing it to yourself right from your phone. Simple to do, or saving it in a Google Drive on your phone if you have a Google Drive. And then when you click on attachments, it'll take you to your computer. You can either, you send it and you email it to yourself, save it on your computer, pull it off your desktop, pull it off your documents, pull it off of wherever you have saved. If you're not going into the individual record, then you can do it kind of how we did it. Hold on one second. Back here. Oh. Under the dashboard, under the banking receipts, you just upload it or forward from an email, but you're gonna have to, you're not gonna be able to import it directly from your phone. You're gonna have to email it to yourself or save it to a Google Drive or something. Or
right. I think what I was speaking about was in the app, in the QuickBook app, you can snap the receipt.
Oh, on your phone, if you have the app on your phone, you mean?
Right. So then when you're back on your desktop, you want to attach the receipt that you snapped in the app. How do you do that?
Can I say, on that, I actually have done that from the app and it automatically appears in the, where it says batch actions. Right
Mhm.
below there where it says receipts and created by, it pops up there automatically.
Thank
When
you.
Yeah, when you take the picture from your phone and you have the actual QuickBooks app on your phone, yes, that is correct. It should show up as a batch action, and then you can kind of click and go, okay, confirm, delete, and assign it to what the specific record that you want. Let me just get back here to make sure I don't miss any. And yeah, that's great. Just yell out, yell out your questions. Okay.
Right, just before we move on from that, could I just go over that again? Because I'm wondering, do you link the snapped receipt from where we just seen to your bank register? Or should you just stick with the bank register and upload it, the picture to there?
I would stick with just the bank register and upload the picture from there.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
personal preference, though. I mean, that's not to say that that's right or wrong.
Okay, that helps me a lot. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, there's so many different ways to do things in here. It's just personal. A lot of it's personal preference. The easiest way to learn this, mess around with it. Just set up a fake company, a fake something, and play around in it for a couple weeks. You can undo things. You're not going to break anything, even if it's a real company. You're not going to mess something up that cannot be fixed or redone, or edited, or deleted, or whatever. Everything's fixable here, but it's just kind of like how you get the feel and the flow and the know of it by doing it. Similar, if I want to, sorry, my computer's extra touchy today. I want to create an expense, right? So I just went to that little magnifying glass and typed create an expense, or you can go through the toolbar and look around for where to do that. So by this, I'm going to say, okay, I want to create an expense. I did something that I had to pay for. So I want to record it, right? Very important. Okay, well, who did I pay? For the sake of this, I was gonna say I paid Bob's Burger Joint. I bought everybody lunch. Right? I'm taking it out of my checking account that only has $256 left, so that's not very good, but what did I pay with? Bunch of different options. You can add in here the newer versions, Venmo, Zelle, Apple Pay, all the non-traditional banking sort of transactions. So we'll just say old school. I paid Bob's Burger Joint by check. I'm gonna type in, it was check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not gonna tag anything because I just took people out to lunch. So my next thing is, where do I put that expense? Where do I record it? I have to record it somewhere, but I have to record it somewhere that makes sense. And I want to record it to marketing, right? Because that's not what it is. It's team building, team bonding, professional development, something like that. So I want to say, so then that's where you just kind of go through and go, okay, what makes the most sense for me to put Bob's Burger Joint? We can put it under travel meals, uncategorized, miscellaneous. There's nothing really set up in here for that. So for now, we'll just put it in miscellaneous. You could put it under travel meals, but That's a little touchy. Usually travel meals is if you're going on a business trip and you're using a per diem or you're using your card to pay for your meals. That's when you would want to categorize it. And then a description. So we categorized it under miscellaneous because there wasn't really a field for it. If there was a professional development field or a team building, this is where your control comes into play, right? You could set up a GL that says team building or team event and put it in there. How much money am I spending team building every year? All right, well, I'm only spending $550 a year because I take them out to Bob's Burger Joint twice, take everybody out, and they're happy with that. Okay, cool. So categorize it under miscellaneous. Description. What is it? QuickBooks is just sort of asking you questions. Okay, you categorized it, but what is it? Took team to lunch. Took team to lunch at the burger joint. We're gonna say it cost me $175. Is it billable? No. I'm not charging somebody else for me taking my team out to lunch. Okay. Customer, I'm not putting that in there because it was me that did it. You could do save and close or save and new. Now, if there were multiple things that you did, like say you took them to lunch, they also had a mini golf thing there and a couple other things, but it was under the same company. That's where you would list it out. Go, okay, I had another charge that was miscellaneous. Flew right past it, there we go. Miscellaneous mini golf. Took everybody to mini golf, cost $25. Yeah, I have two things on there for the same place, but they're two different things. Be as specific as possible, record as much as possible. So then 6 months from now, when you're trying to figure out what that charge is, you can go in here and go, oh, that's right. I took everybody to the mini golf and to the burger joint.
Can I ask, is it possible to set your own categories rather than use the suggested categories?
Yes, you can. You could create your own categories. You can go in and you can go into that GL. One second. That's a good point here. We'll do that right now. Chart O. Chart of accounts. You can go in here, and if it's something that's, let's see, something like this. See how this account has 0? Well, odds are I'm never going to have a payment to the Arizona Department of Revenue. If I have a business in PA, it's kind of weird. But I don't want to see this account every time. If you click on this little arrow over here, make inactive. You'll never see it again until you want to see it. It won't permanently delete it, but it'll make it inactive so it doesn't show up in a list of however many accounts you set up. Right? Make inactive. Yes, I'd like to make it inactive. Sometimes it's connected to a different account. Sometimes it's not. But this making things inactive right there went away. Well, not that one, another one I did. It reduces the amount that you're going to see. I don't ever need to see that account. I'm never going to use it. It was set up, it's a standard thing, make it inactive. And then you can add new ones. Right up here, new. You can import a list of them if you want, but if you just click new, it'll kind of walk you through, okay, you want to set up a new account. What do you want to set up? What is it? Is it an income account? Am I going to record money I got in? Is it an expense account? Am I going to record money I paid out to people? Is it a bank? Did I set up another bank account? Is it an asset account? Did I create, did I buy a fleet of trucks? Because I'm a third-party Amazon delivery service. Is Is it a credit card? What is it? Okay, well, this is an expense account. I want to save the account under expenses. What do I want to call it? Team building. Team events and trainings. So it's just asking me questions. What do I want to call it? I want to call it team building. Well, what is it? It's team events and trainings.
So are you calling a category a new account then in the chart of accounts?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're selecting your category up here, like what, where is it gonna fall? Now you don't want to put an expense, a true expense, like team building expense, into an income account. That's where you're messed up, right? Because it's not income, it's an expense. You're paying for your team to build and bond and grow and events and trainings. You're not getting any money from that. So make sure that you categorize it right, because if you don't, then the books are going to be messed up all the time. It's going to be forever messed up. Every time you record something in that account, it's thinking it's income, but you're typing it in as an expense, and they're opposites. So it's just going to constantly, every month, build on itself and get messed up. So just be careful how you categorize at the top here. Income, expense, or a bank account.
Okay, I had gone to create a new category from the list in the widget in the corner, and I couldn't see them, the ones that I created as new categories popping up in the list. So that explains why they're not there. What are those other categories though? And to go up to list and select categories from the list. See on the cogwheel.
The cogwheel.
And you go to list, all lists. And product categories down the left. So I had created some categories thinking that they would pop up for me. Is that something completely different?
Well, this is, so that category, yes, is a little different. Sorry, one second, let me get back to where we were here. So it depends on your kind of business, right? The product categories is telling you, classifying items that you sell to a customer. So it's not necessarily a chart of account, it's just a category of a product. You'd have to set up the account in the chart of accounts and then assign a product category to that. Like you could do that, you could do this for instance, like if you own a construction company, right? Your GL chart of account, say the expense is construction, okay? Well, the product or category you could set up to be 1234 Tree Street, 1234 Spruce Street. I have different construction projects that I'm doing, but it's still falling under construction expense. But the product or category I'm setting up is a little different. So it is a little different, yes.
Thank you.
So that's how you enter an expense. Kind of went through some other stuff. So let's record some revenue. All right. Payments. Sort through that, so that's what. There we go, sales receipt. So recording a payment, different ways to do that. Sales receipt, recording a straight payment. Sales receipt I like because it doesn't necessarily, isn't tied to an invoice. Sometimes if you're gonna record a payment or a receipt, it's tied to a specific invoice. Sometimes it's not gonna be. Like you didn't specifically invoice somebody for, again, I go, just because of my role, I go back to grants. So I received a grant. Well, I didn't invoice anybody to receive the grant, I just received money. But I still want to record it. So I gotta go, okay. Let's say whoever sent me a payment is not in QuickBooks, they're not set up. Right, which happens. Add new customer. So you're gonna have to type all this in, company name, SBA. Email, you know, you have to, you're gonna enter all this in. I'm not gonna enter it in right now, but for the purposes of this, I'm just showing you how to record. SBA, you'll enter whatever email contact you have at that company or firm or place. Their number, website if you want, the name they print on their checks, it could be different. Maybe they're SBA doing business as Kim's Trainings, whatever. They can do business as a different entity, right? Does everybody kind of understand and get that aspect? So I always go use the example of Applebee's. Applebee's is not the legal name of Applebee's. It's called the Rose Group. So everybody's paycheck says the Rose Group. That's how they file taxes, that's how they do everything. But everybody knows the name Applebee's. They're doing business as Applebee's. And is this a sub-customer? This would come into play, say you deal with Walmart a lot or Target a lot, right? You're gonna have a customer or vendor set up as Walmart or Target, but maybe it's Walmart Lebanon store, Walmart Lancaster store. That could be a sub-customer. Walmart's your parent customer, the specific stores are the sub-customer. And it can attach to those records and roll up. Does that make sense? Then you're gonna enter in addresses. 3 Tree Street, Lebanon, PA. Same as billing and shipping, yes. Notes. Here's where you can add attachments again, right? If I'm say this is a grant that I'm getting, I'm gonna attach the grant award letter right there. Or whatever document I got with the check into that section or field. Again, because if you're like me, 6 months from now, you're gonna go, what? What was that $200 for? You can go and go, oh, that's right. Kim sent me a grant. Awesome. You got some money. But I attached the grant award letter or receipt or copy or whatever. And I can even type in the notes, grant from SBA or grant from Community Health and Wellness Foundation or whatever it is. Or if it's just money, this was a payment for X, Y, and Z. If that happens every month on the regular, state that in there, put that in there. And then set up how they're gonna pay you. Are they paying you check? Are they paying you cash? What are the terms that you gave them? It's another thing you have to set up. Are you gonna say, okay, you know what? You do business with me every month. You're great. We have a great relationship. I'll give you 60 days to pay, net 60. Or some places you'll see net 10, meaning if you pay them in 10 days, they'll give you a discount. A lot of times it happens with property tax bill. If you ever get your property tax bill, you'll see in there, discount, they discount it like 2% if you pay by X date, or your PICO bill, or whatever it is. That's where you can set up these terms in there. If it's the same terms for the client all the time, then set that up in there. That way it'll show up on an invoice you send them or a payment receipt recording that you get from them. And then additional info. What type of customer are they? Are they nonprofit? Are they tax exempt? And if they are, get the tax exempt form from them. Load it in there as an attachment. Then you know that there's your audit. I'm saying they're tax exempt. I uploaded proof that they're tax exempt, and now it's recorded in my financial system that they're tax exempt. Covered yourself. That way, if anybody a year from now goes, is such and such company tax exempt? Yep, they sure are. Here's the copy of the tax exempt form. Here's a copy of all the payments that they sent to us or we made to them, excluding the taxes. Perfect. And then if they have an opening balance with you, put that in there, and as of what date. Save it in there. And it'll save all the information. And I didn't put a lot of information in there just for sake of time and purpose, but see how SBA 123 Tree Street, that has in there, what's the date of the payment that I got? Who's it from? What method? What's the check number? They paid me with check 90876. Where am I depositing it? Well, I want to deposit it into my checking account, my bank. So I'm changing it to that. And then again, select the product or service. What are they paying you for? Well, they're in the case of this company being set up as a landscape design company, we'll just pick concrete. They're paying me for, I installed a fountain. And we'll say we installed 2 fountains and it was $250 per fountain. See how I calculated that? You put different quantities and rates in there, and then it'll calculate the total dollar amount. So say it was only one fountain at $250, it changed it to $250. You don't have to put that in there. You can just put the dollar amount in there. But if you had, say, a bunch of things that you did, I installed 2 fountains for them. Okay, great. 2 fountains, $250 each fountain, 500. Okay, what else did I do? I installed a fountain pump. I installed 2 of them. And this will also keep a running tally of, if you set up an inventory list in QuickBooks of fountain pumps, fountains, if you're that kind of a business or in your personal life, you set that up, it'll tell you how many you have on hand and how many you're kind of doing if you hover over it. So the fountain pump, let's just say it was 25 a piece, 2 of them, $50. Okay. Am I giving them a discount? Nah, I'm not going to give them a discount. This is saying sales tax. You got to be careful getting into that because then you'll need a sales and use tax individual to send money to the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue and calculate all those things. Typically, you're not going to have that on there. So we'll just say it's 0 for ease of this project. And then here again, attachments. Copy of the invoice, copy of the contract that you signed with them or they signed with you, whatever the case may be. Put that in there. Attach it in there. And then I'm going to save and send. Well, to whatever email I put in there, or I'm just going to save it. If it's not an invoice that I'm sending, I'm just recording something, I just hit save.
Oh, this was an income, there was a check that was sent to you. So.
Yeah,
and
but it doesn't necessarily mean it's from the check that was sent to me is from an invoice I generated.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be I sent somebody an invoice.
Right.
Like in the example of the grants, I just got grant money and I didn't invoice them.
I mean, you know, I invoiced multiple invoices and I got paid with one check. So,
Yeah. That you could enter that in here as
Right.
well, and then put the invoice details in the
Numbers, okay.
description.
Yep.
Or you can go individually into each invoice.
I
Sort of
don't-
do it that way.
too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different, you know.
Yeah.
I used to have an 18,000 line invoice at one place I worked. I swear to God, I can't make that up, 18,000 lines. It would take 2 days to do it.
Yeah,
It was brutal. And the client hated it, but there was no, I eventually ended up working with IT to get it down to 4 lines on one summary invoice. IT can be your best friend that way. Make friends with your IT department wherever you are, they can make things happen. So they got it down to that, but that was an excruciating invoice to go through, so no one in their right mind is gonna record 18,000 different payments in the QuickBooks. You'll be the 6 months of your job every year is just gonna be recording one invoice. So yes, I would just recommend doing it that way. Oh, I already saved it, sorry. So we created and entered an expense, we created and entered a payment receipt, whipped around the dashboard a little bit. Let me just go back to the chat. Yes, this is, Michael, this is being recorded and you will get a link to the session. A lot of these trainings, it is a little hard because it's specific, right? Specific questions, specific instances, specific needs, everybody's different. Non-profit versions are different than for-profit versions of QuickBooks. Terminologies, how they call things, reports, what's needed. There's little tiny differences. So when you're doing this, when you're setting up QuickBooks Online, choose the nonprofit version. If you're nonprofit, choose that version. It'll give you those terms because it knows what you're looking to do. It'll already load them in there for you. It'll make your life easier. And then when you do your 990 and all these other things, it just makes your life easier. The for-profit, again, keep it simple. When you're setting up your chart of accounts, when you're creating new ones, just keep it simple. You do not have to have, even this example that they give here, there's way too many accounts. There's 75. You don't need that many. Half of these will probably never, ever be used. The ones that are used are up at the top. See that little group, and then it just kind of dips off. It depends on your individual business, or you can use this in your personal, for your personal life or self. Enter your paychecks in there. Enter your monthly expenses and bills that you have in your personal life, your mortgage, your utilities, dinner. You went out to dinner. It'll kind of put you in your financial place real quick if you do that for a couple months. So you're gonna go, oh man, we're eating out a lot, or oh man, we're spending a lot of money on X, Y, and Z. We better cut back on that.
you want me to be a statistic, don't you?
No, I sure don't. I don't do it.
That's
I
right.
don't do it in my personal life because I don't want to know. It'll give me just a reality real quick. You know,
Your children.
I have twin 13-year-olds and 3 stepkids, so 5. So I have 50 cents in my card myself. That's mine. So anybody with kids knows that feeling. I get it too. Trust me. So that's why I don't do this, because it's just gonna go kids. But you can do it if you want for your personal life to just kind of, or create an Excel file with the same thing and import it in here. You can do different things with that. This is also cool because you can send, right here, my accountant. You can send your accountant a copy of this. It eliminates a lot. If you own your own business, or if you're doing this for somebody's business, and you're sending it to their accountant, they'll already have access to it. They'll already have their login. They'll already be able to see things that you do, things that are wrong, things they can fix. It just makes life easier. This is the simplest thing to learn and do, and the cheapest that I found so far. It's like $9 a month. Sometimes you can get 50% off discounts if you are a nonprofit, or if you're a new customer signing up. They have a lot of deals. 50% off is usually a standard deal that they run for 3 months, I believe. You get, play around it for 3 months for $10. See if you like it. Maybe you're like, you know what, I really don't like this. Right. Well, then look up Peachtree or a different version of this. Quicken. QuickBooks, Quicken, Intuit owns like TurboTax, QuickBooks, and all kinds of stuff. Look into it a little more. See what version might work better for you or not. But the most important thing is you have to record it. Don't write it on a piece of paper. Don't put it on a napkin. Don't have it in a file shoved in your desk somewhere, because you're not going to remember what it is 6 months from now. You're not going to remember where you put it. You know it's here somewhere. And you're not going to be able to give the information to someone quickly, which then will lead them to believe that you don't have it, or it's not organized, or you're making it up. This way, you have everything in here, and you have QuickBooks set up, and you have your transactions recorded, and you have a GL, and your accountant goes, can I get an accounts receivable report? Yep, you sure can. Give me about 2 minutes. Oh, there you go. There it is right there. Right? Instead of going, oh, let me go to my, find that piece of paper that I wrote down everybody that owes me money and how long they've owed me money for. Trust me, you can get yourself into a tricky financial situation doing that. At the place I worked prior to this, that they kind of didn't have a system for account. They had $2 million in accounts receivable over 90 days past due. That's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money to me. That's just sitting there. And it was just simply, they didn't know it was sitting there. And they go, okay, we got to call these places up. Like there was like 5 or 6 places. Hey, when are you paying me my money that you owe me, contractually owe me? Now there's different levels to that. Collection nastiness or whatever, but at first it's like, oh, it probably slipped through the cracks, LOL, can you pay me my money? And then a month later, can you pay me my money? And then another month goes by. I'm gonna have to escalate this if you don't pay me my money, there's different levels and versions. But the important thing is have it recorded in here. Then if your accountant or your tax accountant or whoever, or a bank, I need to go after a loan because I want to expand my business, or I want a different building, or I want to do whatever. They're going to ask for this. A bank is going to ask for this. What's your accounts receivable? How much money do people owe you? What's in your pipeline? What's your business looking like? They're going to want to know that. And if you go, you're already done. But if you go, 1 second, click, here you go. It's a report printed out. It shows them, oh, you have all your transactions recorded. You reconcile. That's the last thing I want to touch on real quick, and then we'll do questions for the remainder. If I can type. Again, if you can't find something, go up to the little bar there. Let's get reconciled. So this is going to be balancing transactions, right? You want to do this regardless of the size of your business. I would do it every month. That's when your bank account statements generate every month. Do it every month. And maybe it takes you 5 minutes. Great. Again, the place I worked at before, they hadn't done this for a year. Wasn't reconciled for a year. So if I go, well, how much money do you have in the bank account compared to QuickBooks? No clue, because it wasn't reconciled for a year. So QuickBooks, it looks like nothing ever cleared, whereas the bank was like down here, QuickBooks total was way up here because it never jived together. Do it every month. maybe at first it takes you a little while, an hour, to get the hang of it and the feel of it. I'm still old school. I'll literally print off. I know if you have this linked to your bank account, it automatically does it, but I'm still so old school that I will literally print my bank statement out. Just for the simple satisfaction of sitting there and checking off transactions and checking them off in QuickBooks. It gives me a sense of satisfaction for some odd reason. I put a little check, I did good. I put a little check, I did good. And you match them, tick them off, and I just go, okay. I don't have to worry about something not getting imported or, odds are that won't happen and you'll be totally fine. But even if this does connect to your bank account and it self-reconciles, still do it yourself. Double check it. Audit it, maybe a couple transactions here and there, maybe not do the whole thing, but just take a look at 4 or 5. And if 4 or 5 are correct, odds are the rest of them will be the same. But just check. That's just my personal preference, is to do it. So this is saying 5,000, say our ending balance was 3,000, and the ending date is today. And you're going to get that information off your bank statement, right? It's going to say what your beginning balance. So typically, if you're doing this, I would be doing this for August 1st to the 30th, because September's still ongoing. There's still stuff that maybe I wrote a check 2 days ago. It's not going to clear yet. They probably didn't even get it yet. There's things happening. That's why you're always doing the month prior. That way you can be sure, okay, all that stuff happened, right? So my bank's saying, okay, 5,000 and 3,000 is the ending. So there's $2,000 of transactions that happened. And that's where you either go to your bank statement, or if you have it connected to your bank account, it'll do it for you, but still check it out. And they go, okay, yes, that cleared, that cleared, that cleared. Just check them off. That cleared, that cleared. See how the difference is going down? It's because I'm checking things off that have cleared my bank account. Oh, that's a payment. There we go. So right now my difference is $10.10. Now that's because I just picked random dollar amounts and it's not gonna balance because I didn't pick something specific, but just kind of want you to get the sense and feel of how to do it, right? You have a beginning balance, you have an ending balance, you have everything that happened in between in that month. The things that happened in between is what you're clearing and putting little checks next to and verifying, okay, yes. Check 1, 2, 3, 4 for $15. That cleared my bank. Checking it off in QuickBooks, it cleared the bank. Next on the list, cleared the bank. So all your deposits, credits and debits, all your credits, all your debits, all your deposits, all your expenses, all your checks that you wrote, all the money you received, all of it for that month. Reconcile it. Check off everything that came through that bank, and your ending balances should match. Now there'll be stuff from maybe last month that hasn't cleared yet. Maybe you did something on the 28th of August and it hasn't cleared because you're running August bank statement. Maybe it cleared 2 days ago. Well, you're not balancing September yet, so you won't catch it, but you will catch it next month when you balance September. You'll see it in there. So it's not a huge deal if something doesn't clear that month. A lot of times stuff does not go in and out smoothly and right through on the same month. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you write a check to somebody and they don't cash it for 60 days because it just sits there on their desk somewhere, or they don't have it, they're not recording it. Somebody sends me a check, I'm taking it to the bank right away and recording it. It's money. So just make sure that you record things timely. Don't leave them sit on your desk for a week or two. Make sure that you reconcile your bank account. Make sure you balance it. Make sure that you have a setup GL chart of accounts, whether it's 2 lines in revenue and income and 10 lines in expenses, and that's it. That's great. That's fine. It's something. Don't feel like you have to set up 100 accounts in each thing. You don't. Typically large, huge plate like a college. The college has a huge GL chart of accounts, but they have all the weird stuff that's never just going to happen in a small business or your daily personal life. Bad debt expense, uncollectible tuition. There's like 6 different, fields just for that. You don't need that. Stick simple, supplies, marketing, utilities, car loans, whatever it may be, building rent, building maintenance, trips, travel, standard things like that. Does that make sense? And then income, maybe you have fundraising income, membership income, grant income. Okay, then you'd have 3 different income lines. Maybe you just have 1. Maybe it's just, I get money in from whatever. I own a cleaning company. I get money in from cleaning, and that's it. Okay, then you have one line. I mean, you can break it down further if you want, but just stick with that. So that's sort of, kind of navigating around QuickBooks. Again, the desktop version of this, it's a little different. Can't connect to the bank accounts, can't do all the fun, quick stuff. It's not going to give you updates every year to the newest, latest, and greatest, but you might not need that, and that's okay. I worked for 10 years on a version 10 years old because I didn't need it to connect to the bank account at the time. I didn't need all the bells and whistles. I just needed it to record my transactions. I needed it to be able to reconcile what I was doing. I needed to set up an invoice and send out an invoice. That's all I needed. And it worked great for what I needed it for. So it's all individual preference, because nowadays everything's subscription based, so it's going to charge you, And you can set this up too for, say you want to have 3 or 4 people with access to your QuickBooks. Well, you could set it up that they can only see certain things as well, right? You could set this up, when in the wizard and when you're setting up the company, who has access to what? Because again, say you have a company, say it's 3 of you, right? And you own the company, and there's 2 other people, but only one of them's your quote unquote CFO or finance person. The other one's, say, your salesperson. Well, I don't want my salesperson seeing some of the company finances. I just want my finance person to see that, right? Set up that rule, set it up that way. So they won't be able to have access or see that. So they'll get their own login, their own password, their own license to it, but they can only see certain things. It'll help you out. So typically when you sign up for QuickBooks, it'll give you 2 to 5 licenses, I think, somewhere in there. So 2 to 5 people can log in and access what you're accessing, but just be careful, make sure it's the right person, that you trust them, and what they have access to, you want them to have access to that. That makes sense? Does everything we kind of went over make sense so far? How to enter an expense, reconcile, how to enter a receipt, how to enter a payment, how to set up a GL account. Those are kind of the basics of this, just whipping around. And then obviously setting up the company, putting the logo in there, put your company information in there, link to your website. It'll all show up on an invoice you create. That they do look professional. It'll have your logo and your information, and then what the invoice is for, the date, the invoice number, whatever you want to name it. But make sure you save receipts, make sure you upload receipts in here. Be as detailed as possible. So if you're going to take the time to record things in here and you're going to take the time to do it, be detailed. You are not going to remember 6 months from now what it was. It's almost like you're writing a note to yourself, right? Be detailed as possible and have receipts whenever possible. You go out and spend something on your corporate card or your credit card or your business credit card or whatever, save the receipt, upload the receipt and attach it to the expense record that you recorded. Just eliminates a lot of questions. Your accountant's gonna ask for it, depending on the dollar amounts. Then he or she won't have to ask for it. Right? Because you're giving them the accountant's copy right here. Right? I'm sending it to my accountant, I'm gonna type their email in, invite them, they'll have access to it. You don't have to ask me if I have a receipt for that, you can see it, it's right there. You can go to it and look it up yourself. And again, your toolbar over here, your dashboard, it'll give you tasks and things to do. Quick actions like a bank deposit, setting up a vendor, setting up a customer. It's kind of the same thing we did when we were entering that payment receipt. I added a new SBA customer. When you first set up your account, you're gonna most likely catch the majority of that. Your customers, your vendors, setting up your GL lines, setting up specific things like, oh, okay. I know my one customer every month. I'm gonna invoice them for the same thing. You can create that and just have it so you don't have to recreate it every month. It'll be the field, what you're invoicing them for will already populate. You can add that in there. Similar to fixed asset tags and things like that. Yeah.
Can we discuss a little bit about the item, like line items? Is there any way, like on an invoice, a line item, so that you, let's say it's 1, 2, 3, 4 item, and then next item, you may have made a mistake and you did it again. Is there any way that QuickBooks can catch that so that you don't duplicate yourself?
It'll give you messages like duplicate invoice or duplicate, it'll tell you if something's a duplicate. But odds are you're gonna have to catch it yourself. It's intuitive, but it's not that intuitive. You know what I mean? Like it'll know if you're duplicating an invoice number or certain things like that, but it might not necessarily know if you're duplicating a description.
An invoice, like
Right.
a line item.
Right.
I mean,
It might not know that because maybe you did mean to do that. Because maybe that's how your customer wants to see it.
mhm. The problem I'm running into is that, maybe I'm just old, I don't know. And I wind up double billing for, I work in the car industry, so, I double bill, same item on the same vehicle, it may be the last invoice I already billed it out and I just didn't cross it off properly or forgot to cross it. And then the next day I bill again and I double bill.
Right. It's because there's 2 different invoice numbers. That's why it's probably not. If it's QuickBooks, it won't catch it because it's thinking that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I would just try to. The only answer to that is just
Be more awake, right?
Yeah, have another cup of coffee or something.
Okay.
If it was a duplicate invoice, it would definitely give you an error because I've seen it. I've done it. It yells at you like, you already created that invoice. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You delete it and
That part I just let automatic, it goes sequential.
yeah. Typically it'll just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And then the next year you change your rubric. But yeah, I could literally enter these same fields. And it'll let me do it. It'll let me do it. But if it's a duplicate invoice number, it'll give you a little red error box message type of thing. To say, hey, wait a second, you already sent that invoice out, or you already created that. That's a duplicate. It would be nice if it worked like that. But...
Yeah, that's what I've been struggling with. Find a way to, to deal with that.
This is good and bad, right?
Yeah.
For that reason right there. Like sometimes you're human.
Yeah.
I make mistakes every day.
Well, the dealerships don't look at that.
Well, I worked
trying to build me again.
I worked at a car dealership for like 6 weeks when I was 18. Sold a car to my first customer. And then sat there and waited for more that did not come and had bills to pay.
Yeah.
Commission was, commission based, but it's definitely fun to sell somebody your car. It was actually turned out to be the owner's wife and I didn't know it, so good thing I sold it to her. I don't know if she's looking to buy one, so that is QuickBooks in a nutshell. You could literally, we could sit here all day. We could sit here for 8 hours going through every single field and question and different kinds of things, but my best advice honestly is to sign up, play around in it, do it. Yeah.
I have a question. I work at Kenbrook Bible Camp. I'm one of those people, we have the nonprofit edition. I'm one of those people that has the 500, if not more, account numbers. We use account numbers for everything.
Okay.
I would like to know when we have a group that visits on the weekend and they are invoiced, and then somebody comes to me and says, oh, I billed them wrong, we owe them a refund of $150. Why will it not let me have the same name for a customer as it does a vendor? I have to think of something else to put.
That's a good question that I do not have an answer to because I don't know. I don't know why that is.
Okay.
That's a quirky QuickBooks thing. You should be able to have whatever you want.
Why would it matter? It's on the two different lists, but it will not.
Right. It's like, all I can say is it's a quirky QuickBooks thing. Honestly, that I wish I had an answer because it doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah.
Like you can have the same for both for two different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one is a customer
Yeah.
and one is a vendor that you're buying something from or whatever it is. And then you're issuing credit memos or invoices or taking payments or giving payments to each one that has a separate record. The only way to do it is to get fancy and put like a Z in front of it or a Z behind it or some kind of differentiational mark like a V for vendor.
Or if it's just one name, I have to think of what kind of we have mostly churches and
Right.
groups that come. What am I gonna put on there that they can actually cash that check?
Right. Well, right. Yeah, you can't because their legal name, the name. Well, you can always change the name that's printed on the check, even though it could be different than the name that you set up. So you could get around it that way. You could have, a letter or some kind of something before or after,
Yeah.
right? But then have the name that's printed on the check be the exact same. So maybe try that. That might be a quicker workaround than having to go through what you're going through. Because on the books, when you're printing out and you're looking at the check register, it'll just be to that entity. You won't see the weird name that you called it to
Yeah,
have it make sense.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will help.
that helps. I have another question. When you entered amounts, you had no cents, so why doesn't it put that decimal point in automatically when you enter an amount?
It's not intuitive to know that that's what you want to do.
But it's an amount.
Right. But it doesn't know from you typing that that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I don't put it in for zeros if you have.
Like Microsoft Excel is more intuitive than this. Like if you did something like that in Excel, it'll fill it
Yeah,
or do it. This it's more literal, right? So it's going, okay, you were literally typing this in, that's what you wanted to say. Instead of it going, okay, I think you typed 112.92, but I'm thinking you wanted to type $112.92, not $10,192.
right.
Right? It's not thinking like that. Whereas Excel would. This won't, it's gonna, you have to type it in exactly how you want it, it's more of a literal.
That's a lot of extra keystrokes. I
Yes, it
did
is.
have the desktop and I loved it.
I honestly like the desktop version better, I like the desktop version better.
And when they went to QuickBooks Online, we only did it because we were hacked and we lost everything. So they
Same
thought
situation.
this would be better, and I thought it would too, and when I found out some of the, like you say, the quirky things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we switched from desktop to online, we lost half our transactions, didn't import.
Yeah.
That's why I'm old, so that's why I still do my own reconcilers, because I just don't trust it. The desktop version, in my opinion, is way better, but that's, I think I said that.
Okay, I have a comment. So my organization had done the same thing. I was trained on desktop, loved it. And we recently in the last year went to the online and it was incredibly frustrating in the beginning. It's still frustrating, and we lost some things I had to input over. And what I found out after we got the online one, after talking to QuickBooks, is that they purchased this online software from another company. It is not their original template, which is why you can't do half of the things you used to be able to do on the desktop. That was just good information for me to know, because even when you are on the ledger or you're doing a check and amounts in the amount area, if you wanted to add a few things on one item line, you could add them together. You might need a calculator. Well, I have to calculate them myself now because they won't do it on the ledger.
Right.
And so just knowing that information, they bought this template from a company that obviously was not set up the way they were. And that's why there are so many things missing on this online QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Even for me, like I will set up a vendor, and then in the chart of in the vendor, I will put like a certain chart of account code, so I don't have to fill it in and remember.
Right.
Well, you can maybe put one in, but if you need more than that, you can't. And I don't know if anybody else has this problem. I have an old computer. I don't have a laptop, but sometimes I will, if I'm writing a check, I will have to exit out of QuickBooks completely because it won't autofill the address or won't autofill stuff. And so I have to constantly get in and get out, get in and get out.
Yeah.
And because it glitches and it pauses and it stutters and it's like, oh my goodness, it's just very time consuming compared to the desktop. And it isn't intuitive at all. And we've lost many, many features that were very helpful and made your job quick and efficient. And this doesn't have that. And to not have that expectation, at least I understand now. Moving forward, I might as well just do it all myself and it'll just take more time.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about online is they do have the help feature with the live expert support, which is really a good feature to ask any question you want. But when Intuit, the company Intuit, bought QuickBooks, they bought TurboTax, combined it all. That's when you started seeing a lot of different changes with QuickBooks and functions and features and how it works. And I've heard problems. I have, so I definitely am not an endorsee of anything. Like, use what you want, what you're comfortable with. I find this to be the easiest thing to learn and the cheapest thing to get. That doesn't mean it's the best.
Yeah, online only lasted one day with me and 5 hours on the phone with them. I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
Online is that button, you know, you get the feature of having it right on your phone, or you get the ease of the on the go, which, you know, is beneficial, but certain cases, maybe you just need the desktop, and you can have it for 10 years and you're good.
Yep, carry your laptop.
It's just similar to like the Microsoft Office suite, like how that went subscription based. You used to be able to go and buy the card from Best Buy or wherever for, I don't know what it was, $49.99 or whatever. You load that on there and you're good for a couple of years. You don't worry about it. Now it's,
I use the desktop version, and it's 8 years old, but again, it serves my purpose.
yep.
But I didn't see an option to add the receipts on the desktop. Is that just online, or is it? available and I just didn't see it, or?
It should be on the desktop.
I keep a manual anyway, but
Yeah, it should be on the desktop version as well, but I don't know what version they started implementing that.
okay,
It could be, like you said, because it's 8 years old.
it's 8 years old, yeah.
That could be, I think the version that I was last on desktop wise was like 2013 and you couldn't.
Yeah, okay, mine's 15, so.
So maybe it's right in that window.
How do you upgrade? I mean, if I wanna,
That they're gonna try everything to make you do the online version.
That's what happened to me.
do an upgrade.
Do the online.
As soon as you upgrade,
Yeah,
they're gonna make you,
Done.
unless, I mean, you might be able to go on Amazon and find the card for the desktop version. Cause I know you can still go on Amazon for Microsoft Suite type stuff and find the card, like a digital code, and then it's the desktop version. But odds are if you call QuickBooks, you're switching the online version, so if you don't wanna do that,
Why don't they give me that? Why do they push it online?
it's just the way of the world, it's with everything.
Based,
Yeah.
make more money out of you, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with the Microsoft Office suites, that used, like I said, that used to be a card and now it's subscription. Everything now is a monthly subscription, because somebody figured out
The world we live in, I guess.
Yeah.
that's the best way to do it. To get money, I guess, I don't know, but
We're in the process right now, we're in that gray area, we're kind of being told we need to do online, go to the QuickBooks Online. But yet we still have our desktop and we have a lot of hesitation to make the switch. To going to online, we use a timekeeping software that's integrated with QuickBooks. And they have to sync, they have to talk to one another, and both of the softwares are, once you go online, are subscription based. And, you know, they're telling us, oh yeah, you have to do this, you have to do this. But every now and then we keep running into these problems where the timekeeping software doesn't sync with QuickBooks. So then we got to get online and chat with their IT and get a couple things worked out, and that happens. And it seems like, I don't know, but it seems like they're making it happen a lot more often, I think, to try to make us go online.
interesting how that happens.
Yeah, it is.
That's
John,
yeah.
I have a question on multiple users.
Yeah.
I do the budget and reports for our local church, but we have a
Right.
financial institute that does our taxes and payroll and pays our invoices. So we're kind of back and forth, and I back up what she does with a thumb drive and vice versa, and it gets crazy. Is there any way to get around that?
I mean, and you said it's just two of you?
Yes.
I mean, setting up, so you both don't want to be doing the same thing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would just be nice if she could do her stuff from her end and I could do my stuff from my end, and we don't have to back each other up.
Right, I mean, you could, when you first set up the company or the system, when you're assigning roles, and I'm assuming you both have different logins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you have different logins, then you should have different roles set up. So you might need to just go into that section and area and fine tune the roles of who has access to what. Then that way maybe you're not kind of going over top of each other, or take her off completely and then just have her with access to this My Accountant field, where you just send her the file every now and again. She can go in, log in, look at it, and if there's anything cleanup needed or specifics that you need done, you can just email and tell her the specifics then. That'd be another way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, check out the rules that are set up.
Okay.
For the, so somebody has to have a master admin login, right? Whether it's you or her or somebody else, that when they log in, you see everybody's user sort of ID and access and role. That's where you
Okay.
can change or update. So I'd go that route or the My Accountant route.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
I think there were a couple other
Oh.
things that popped up in the chat while you were explaining.
Sorry.
something. Somebody wanted you to re-explain. I couldn't read it completely on the screen.
So where someone's a vendor and a client, you could have an instance where you have somebody that's a vendor and a client or a customer, right? Somebody that you're paying money to, but also pays you money, basically, is the difference. Where so QuickBooks isn't intuitive enough to let you have a duplicate vendor and client. They won't let you do it, so you gotta kind of work your way around that with being creative with the vendor or client name. But that doesn't mean the name that you're printing on a check or that you're signing to a check that comes in. It could still be the legal entity and the same name, but when you're setting up a client or a vendor, if it's the same company or same person, you're gonna have to get creative with the naming convention because it won't let you do it. There may be a workaround or a patch that QuickBooks has that I'm just not aware of, so if you type in the expert chat help field, they might be able to help you with that. But you could absolutely have a situation where you have a vendor and a client that's the same person or the same company. It does happen. Not frequent, but it does happen. Let's see. What do I do? It's just people giving examples. Seems like there's a lot of back and forth and questions answered on there already. I think that question was answered.
Can I answer
Yeah,
a quick question?
sure.
I don't use vendor. What is the difference between vendor and customer or client? And why would you not just stick with one?
It depends on the business, like, so, do you want to give your example and then I can
Sure.
mine, or both of you?
Yeah, I work at a car dealership, I mean, my company, so we buy parts and things like that from them, and then I'm also providing a service to them. I also bill them,
Oh, okay.
you know, for work that services that we do for them. So, you know, I don't know how they do it in their system. You know, I don't have that situation in my business where somebody's a customer and me being a vendor to be in my QuickBooks part of it. So they use, I don't know what they use on it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, one you're getting money from,
Right.
one you're paying money
That
to.
makes, because we're a nonprofit, so we're not billing people.
Right.
Right,
That makes sense.
exactly. That's why you wouldn't have, right,
Right.
you don't have the two.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And last question, I know we gotta wrap up here, so, Lydia just asked, do you provide more individual help? Training is insufficient for specific business needs. Personally, no, I don't, just because I'm swamped with what I'm doing full time. But there are places out there that do that. I know the SBDC, I don't want to do a commercial, but they are coming out with a new SSBCI program, State Small Business Credit Initiative. Everybody loves acronyms in higher ed. That will help more individually with bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, legal. That program just hasn't officially launched yet. There you go. So Lydia is a bookkeeping professional, so yeah, I would recommend going to a bookkeeping professional to do this if you're still unsure, or at least have them help you get it cleaned up or set up or going to the point that you can manage it from there type of thing, so.
And I don't know about the Lancaster-Lebanon SCORE chapter, but the Delaware-Chester County SCORE chapter has a SCORE mentor that does bookkeeping, and she will do occasional trainings as well. So I would check with local resources
Yes.
To see if there's any
Yes.
additional training.
Typically, the SBDCs, since we offer no cost help, it's gonna be sort of trainings like this, or not real in-depth individualized things, because then you get into liability, you get into a lot of other stuff, but
Yeah. Paula Paisley at the Chester, Delaware County Chapter School is the mentor that does focus on bookkeeping and book.
Yep, and that new program coming out that they'll specifically be doing that. And then as Lydia mentioned, there's, herself and other bookkeeping professionals out there that.
Even checking with your accountant, they
Yeah.
have a list of people.
Always have access.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Or even your local chamber of commerce might have a list of like local bookkeeping businesses or things like that. Well, I hope everybody found this training valuable. You learned something since from when you walked in here till when you're leaving. But just thank you all for showing up. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Kim. Thank you to Karen. All this will be recorded and sent out. And if you have any questions, feel free to email one of us. We'll do our best to get back to you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for your
everybody.
time.